Hey, what's up YouTube? Welcome to my latest episode of Knife and Gear Vlog. You are at the We All Juggle Knives channel. In this episode I have some machetes, I have a Spyderco fixed blade, I have some Karambits, and I have some cheap shanks. Now this item here is the United Bushcraft Explorer Smatchet. Yeah, and Bushmaster Survival, I think that's a brand that's just owned by United. Right, so that's the sheath that it comes with. And here is the blade. Yeah, through the magic of editing, the blade length on this is 13.5 inches. And surprisingly, this is 1095 high carbon steel. It also has a true full tang. Alright, so that's good strong construction. I like that, and I like the steel as well. Now these little marks here, that is not rust. I believe that's actually part of the black finish that they just were not able to remove when they were removing it from this section here. And these, the same thing, these are not rust. This actually came with some oil or grease on it to prevent rust, because if that was rust, I'd be pissed. But no, don't worry, that is not rust, it's just cosmetic. I have to say, United has done something very intelligent in choosing to use that 1095 high carbon steel. In the past, sometimes they have used stainless steel, and cheaper stainless steels at that, for some of their longer blades, and that has hurt their reputation in the past, but I commend them for improving the quality of the materials that they've chosen to use. I mean, it's never too late to fix your reputation, improve your reputation, and honestly, if they hadn't used that steel for this, I probably would not have purchased one. But they've also chosen to put the word Bushcraft in the name of their item. Yeah, whenever you use that term, you're going to get some scrutiny. Maybe not always good either, because the Bushcrafters are definitely going to test out to see if your item is really good for Bushcraft. So pretty much two unrelated terms, Bushcraft and Smatchet, but I think they chose both of those terms to get more publicity for their item, which is understandable. You know, I categorize this as a machete. Right, that's pretty much what it is. So, are machetes useful for bushcraft? Definitely, depending on what terrain and region you're in, a machete can be quite good for bushcraft. So I'm going to do a full review of this and test it out. Now the price on this was $36, which I actually consider quite reasonable when you consider the 1095 steel. Yeah, that is definitely very reasonable. I do have condors that are twice the price or more that are, 1075 steel. Now this brings up an interesting comparison between the Condor Big Leaf and this new United Smatchet machete. You know, both of these are the same steel actually. These are both 1095, right? The Big Leaf is currently about $98. And the United is $36. And they're about the same length. The United is only like a 1/4 inch longer. So definitely that same big blade category. So it will be interesting. I am going to do full reviews of both of these. Not in the same video, separate videos. It's just better for people looking it up that way. Alright, but yeah, I am very interested to compare these because there's a big price difference, but the stats on these are quite similar. Alright, so stay tuned for that. And if you want to pick one of these up or that, I will include links to all the blades I show in this video in the text description box, so be sure to check those out. Now speaking of machetes, I also got this item. They're calling this their Colombian Smatchet. Alright, and that is the sheath that it comes with, and it also comes with that knife. Right, so we have the Bushcraft Explorer Smatchet and their Colombian Smatchet. Now the Colombian is 1065, right? High carbon steel, mid to high carbon. That's 1065, and that's 1095. Right, so a little, not as good steel, but the price is also less expensive. That is 22, and that was 36. Now I had no plans to even get that Colombian one, because these used to be the same price. But predictably, the Colombian one went down to around $22, which I feel actually made it worth it. It came with this knife, which looks very similar to a lot of my Mora knives. Just the handle shape, it looks like two Moras that I have. I never would have bought this knife separately, but as something that they include with this for that $22 price, I mean, I just felt it was a good deal, because even if you count this knife is only worth, like, let's say you count it as a $5 knife, that's still a very reasonable price for the combo. And the steel on this is the same as that. It's 1065 carbon steel. Now you see the difference in handle construction. You know, the Tang goes all the way past the end. That is the Tang, right? So, decisions. You've got some options here. I would say people on a tight budget that are maybe some young person just starting out and they need a machete and a little field knife. That one is well priced, all right? So if you're just starting out, get that one. If money is not a super tight concern, then I would go with that one, just because, as I said, a little bit better steel, more simple and solid handle construction as well. So, all the links will be included. You can browse at your leisure. And here is a blast from the past. Do you remember these Spydercos? These are Spyderco Fred Peron Bowie knives. And here they are in all their glory. Now, these currently go for about $108 on Amazon. I will include a link. I've owned these for many years. The first one I got, I think I got that about 8 years ago. And then at some point they came out with a black bladed model, and I wanted that, so I acquired it. Now, these are deceptively well designed, right? They've got full flat grinds. They're very pointed. They have a lot of piercing ability, a lot of slicing ability, right? And that one finger groove in the handle really locks you in and gives you a secure grip. All right, well, I've got another member joining the family. There's this. This is the new Street Beat, also designed by Fred Peron. If you don't know who Fred Peron is, he's a French guy who is pretty much famous for designing blades that have a defensive or a tactical or fighting application. In France, I have heard that it is very difficult to acquire a handgun, and so the population is very interested in alternative items that they could use to protect themselves with, and Fred Peron, you know, he kind of fills that market. So this is the new Street Beat. Now, as you can see, it is the shorter brother to the Fred Peron Bowies. Now, why did I get this? Well, the price went down. The old Street Beat had beautiful polished micarta handle scales, which I don't really need on just a defensive blade. All right, and the old one, it was about $150 around there, right? Well, the new one, which just has an FRN handle, that's about $40 to $50 less expensive than the old Street Beat. So again, just the price decrease made it more of a value, more worth it to me, but it's still not cheap. It's a bit over $100, right? So it's not the type of thing you buy on a whim. Most people who buy this will either be Spyderco collectors or people who actually need a blade like this. Now, I subscribe to at least 4 different police officers on YouTube, and every single one of them carries a knife as backup to their firearm. And this is the type of blade that could fulfill that capacity, right? That's the type of thing people are carrying as a backup to a firearm. And one of the things that the police have taught me is that if someone tries to wrestle them for their gun, they're going to run in to their knife in the worst way, right? So that's what people are using it for. So that's why if you really need this, you know, that price tag probably won't bother you too much. I mean, how much is your life worth? I don't know. Now, because laws vary from place to place, there may be places where, you know, you can't carry this, where a person could carry this legally. It all depends where you live, so check into your local laws, but that's going to play into the decision, should you get the shorter one, should you get the longer ones? You know, this is so compact that it's very easy to carry and conceal, right? The first law of any defensive blade is that it does you no good if you're not able to have it with you when you need it, right? So the smaller and easier to carry, the more likely you'll actually have it when you need it. Every once in a while you run into people who say that a knife is very bad as a defensive item. Well, like I said, I listen to the police officers that I know who actually carry one, and they do certainly plan to use it to defend themselves. So I think their plan is a solid one. But fortunately, this is all voluntary, so if you think it sucks for that, then don't carry one. You know, nobody's forcing you to. Nobody's forcing you to. Now, as for the steel, these are VG10, very old school steel, and that is made in Japan, as it says on the blade. Now, small little knives like that in the self-defense world are sometimes called clinch picks. A clinch is a form of standing grappling you're probably familiar with from boxing matches. But, you know, altercations on the street often devolve into a grappling contest because if neither side is good enough at striking to end the fight with a strike, then there's really almost no place the fight can go but to a grapple, because the bad strikers, they become exhausted and they start leaning on each other, and before you know it, you're grappling. The reason that knives like that are called a clinch pick is because it's meant to extricate you from a clinch or other type of grapple from someone who, let's say someone is a lot bigger than you. A lot bigger than you. They're a lot stronger. Well, that's where clinch picks come in. This handle shape, it really does lock you in strongly. Got a little bit of jimping here. Now that's for an assist with your thumb, right? But, you know, some people don't like this grip, but there's a misconception about this grip. You don't fight with this grip the whole fight, right? You only put your thumb here at the last second when you're about to cut, just to give a little more steering and precision and an assist to a finishing cut, right? The rest of the fight, you want to keep your thumb out of the way so someone can't like snap cut your thumb off. So at least that's how I've always used it. You're never going to brandish your knife like this, waving it around. Keep that thumb safe until the last minute. That's my take on the Filipino grip. Alright, so I'll include all those links, and like I said, I like the new price a lot better. I don't need the beautiful scales on a blade like that. That blade is more all business, so I applaud them for lowering the price. Check out the links, they do help the channel. Now I think you'll see why I chose to review all three of these, or overview all three of these in the same video, right? These are all, well, they're technically Karambits. Now, as you know, usually the blade on a Karambit usually hooks the other way on most conventional Karambits. But the reason these are still called Karambits is because they have the Karambit ring, and also because theoretically you could sharpen the backs of these, and then you'd have kind of a double-edged Karambit, right? So, yeah, we got these three Karambit claw-shaped blades, but the claw is facing backwards, which makes these essentially Skinner-type designs, slicers, but of course they all have wicked tips, right? So these are for slicing, for piercing, and if you go back the other way, they rip in the way that a traditional Karambit can rip, and can also tip cut. So ripping, tearing, tip cutting, slicing, and other brutal things, that's what these are for. All right, but before I show you each one, I got to give my take on, should you use these in the reverse grip, which traditionally a Karambit is used in the reverse grip, not necessarily always, but traditionally it is. But these are kind of unconventionally shaped blades. So should you use these in the reverse grip? Well, you know, my take on that, the only people who should use these in the reverse grip are people that specifically train in a martial art that teaches them how to do that, right? So if that's what your martial art teaches, then by all means you can use these in a reverse grip. But since that type of training is not widely available in most places, I would reckon that most people who buy this, as a defensive blade would probably do better using it in the tip-up grip, right? Just because they don't have the training to use it the other way. But yes, this can be used in the tip-up grip as well, and that would probably just be more simple and useful for most people who have never trained in reverse grip. All right, what I mean by reverse grip is a grip where the tip is down, right? Now most Karambits, they actually curve this way, right? So most Karambits, they're going in like this, but because this curves that way, right, using it in the reverse grip would be a little different than the way that you use a normal Karambit, right? So that's why I said I think most people who buy this that don't have that training would probably just use it in the tip-up grip, right? They would use it as a conventional slicer and very pointed thrusting implement. And, you know, I think it would be quite effective in that grip as well. Now, one thing you should know, people do sharpen the backs of these. I've seen pictures on Amazon of people who did that. And again, those are people with that specific training who are going to use it in that fashion. And for things that they're going to do, they need that sharpened, right? So you can do that if that's what you intend. But you don't have to. Again, it's perfectly formidable this way as well. Another thing I want to talk about with these designs is the offset blade, meaning this is forward, right? The blade is presented forward of where it would be on a conventional knife. It's like, yeah, it's offset. So what is the purpose of an offset blade like that? Is there any use to it? Well, you often see offset blades on kitchen cutlery, actually, and it is for the same purpose. Presenting the edge forward like that just makes it easier to slice something, right? So that enhances the slicing ability of these blades. And last thing we got to talk about is the ring. The ring just serves as an anchor point. It helps you have a more secure grip, right? Especially if you are using it in the tip-up grip. Now, some people think like the ring makes it likely that you're going to break your finger. No, because you're never supposed to rely on only the ring to hold on to. It's no substitute for grip strength and a strong grip. So it's just a little bit more of an anchor. You're never meant to just like have it on one finger and have someone pull it, because then yeah, of course that could break your finger. But it's not the ring's fault if you're not gripping tightly with all your fingers. That's what I'd say there. All right, the first of these blades, this is the Smith & Wesson SW995 Full Tang Karambit knife, they're calling it. It's around $22. The blade length is 3 3/4 inches, right? That blade length is a good compromise between carryability and yet reach, right? Now the steel on this, 8CR13 MOV, that's a fairly inexpensive Chinese stainless steel. As you can see, it's got a stonewash, and this has a true full tang. As you can see, it's got a true full tang, actually an extended tang that it extends and becomes the ring, and then you got textured handle scales there, you got some texture there. So that's just a simple yet strong construction. This is the sheath that it came with. Right, it does hold it securely. You can unsheath it like so. Well, it's definitely a useful blade for a very low price. Obviously, Smith & Wesson is a firearms company, so they're selling this to firearms owners, again, in that backup role, right? So if you need that, you probably know you need that, right? So you spent all your money on ammo to get good with your gun. You don't have much left. Smith & Wesson will sell you this for around $22. It's a means to an end. That's what I would say. Now this knife is the Kanku C1490, right? Full tang Karambit blade. The blade length is it's just shy of 4 inches, like 3.9 inches, they say, and it is D2 tool steel. Full tang construction. There is the full tang, and it extends to become the ring. Nice textured handle scales, give a very good grip. And it's a wicked blade. It has a stone wash. They also sell a black coated version. And the price tag on this is around, again, around $22. Now here's the sheath that this comes with. All right, so you see it's got that, and it does hold it securely, and you can deploy like so. So that's the sheath. Right, so you've got some options here. That one, it's even pointier and a little bit longer. Now notice the backs of these blades are a little bit different. This one lends itself more to sharpening the back, right? Because that's just flat there. So if you have that in mind, you'll prefer this one. Right? On the other hand, this one is not without its charms. And this blade, now sorry, it's a little hard to show under the lights, but it's got a mirror polish. But now this is the type of blade perfect for church on Sunday. No, kidding. It's all business. This is an interesting blade. There was only one seller that has this, so this might disappear. But it was around $20 and then around $5 shipping. Right, so not much money. The steel is not so good. 3CR13. They did put a mirror polish on it for some reason. I like to think it's so that if you did have to pull it out, people could easily see it so they could run the hell away, which is exactly what I would do. I don't care how badass you are. Nobody wants to get frickin' cut. Right, so there's a deterrence value. But you still need to know what you're doing because there's people on drugs and so forth that do not have rational thinking and they might actually want to go up against the knife. And so, I guess you take it from there. I'm sure they'll get the point in time. Get it? Get the point. Knife point. This is the sheath that it came with. It's got a belt loop there. It's got a button closure, but it's not really a very good tactical sheath. But that's what you get. Guess that's one of the reasons why this was not that expensive. Yeah, this crazy thing did catch my eye, and it does have a little bit of a sharpened section here, which I don't know why they didn't just sharpen the whole thing, but like I said, most people would probably use it actually tip up unless you have that specific training to use it this way, which is not available in many places. But no matter which way you use it, it's a slicer and a piercer and a ripper. Now, regarding like piercing, some people might say, hey, why don't I just use a dagger, if I'm going to be piercing something? Like, what's the benefit of your piercing item curving like that? There are a lot of subtle benefits to a thrust that can curve up or curve around. Like, if you're in a clinch, like, this can curve around the back more easily and take a kidney, or it can reach a spine. If you're using it tip up, it just makes it that much easier to get a throat. But yeah, that curving blade, it can go around, it can go up and under, it can go in and up under a rib. I mean, there's many subtle, deadly things about a thrusting blade that curves like that. All right, so put on your imagination cap and try to see the benefits of that. Not that I don't love daggers too. All right, so there you have it, an overview of 3 similar Karambits with the rare back curving slicing blade. All right, offset slicers. You could also use these as skinning knives because the Karambit ring, like I said, it gives you an anchor, and that's actually also useful while skinning. So yeah, a lot of uses for these. And the price is right. Some people say, some people think that like knife videos cause people to commit crimes with knives. I gotta disagree. I mean, people have been basically doing violence with swords and machetes and daggers for thousands of years, right? Long before there was any such thing as a social media. So it's like, did Attila the Hun watch a video about pillaging? Did that cause him to do that? Did Genghis Khan watch a video and that caused him to, his horde to run rampant across Oh, the largest land empire in the known world at that time. No, no, no. Violence has always been with us since caveman times. But fear of new things, like fear of the internet, fear of social media, that does cause people to try and associate the new thing with some historical thing, right, that they think is a negative. But I really don't see the connection. That's tenuous at best. But if you believe that guns are evil in themselves, then you pretty much have to believe that everything that could do damage would be evil. So I guess the people that have a fear of guns, for them to be consistent in their irrationality, they have to eventually have a fear of knives. Well, luckily this is voluntary, so, nobody forces you to watch, nobody forces you to carry a knife, and if you are attacked, nobody forces you to defend yourself, correct? So that's my take on that. Anyway, if you're interested in any of these blades, they are available on Amazon. I will include the links. All right, please browse those at your leisure. They do help support the channel. All right, and since we showed kind of a multi-purpose blade, right, ripping, slicing, and thrusting, these type of blades, there are alternate schools of thought. Like some people think you should have the most simple type of blade, almost like a manufactured shank, right? So these are examples of blades that are pretty much single move blades. They're basically thrusting specialized blades, except for the dagger. This could slice, but still mainly a thruster, right? So contrast that, which gives you more options? Well, this does, but which requires less training, less practice? These do. So there's always going to be that debate among people who debate martial blades. Which is better, the multi-purpose or the specialized? So I thought I'd show some of the specialized. Now, those Mtech Tantos, I've shown one before, but the reason I got another one is because the price went down even lower than I thought it could go. It went down to like $4 and something. Well, $4 and change is a good price for that. The thing about these little things, they're not very sharp at all, but that doesn't matter because, it's the closest thing I've seen to really just a manufactured shank, right? It's full tang, it's fairly thick for a small knife, and it's pointy, and it's just a manufactured shank. I don't know if you need that, but if you did need that, despite it being Mtech, this would actually work for that single defensive purpose. Right, so these things have gone down to like $4 and change at some points. I'll include a link. The price varies, so just keep watching the price. But if you need this, yeah, this exists. This is an interesting blade. It's a kunai. It's meant as a throwing knife. This is an s-tec throwing knife. They do have a black blade version too. This was like $9.95. I will include the link, of course. One of my subscribers did turn me on to s-tec. It's a budget brand. He had like a folding budget cleaver that he thought I would like. I didn't quite like the cleaver, but I did look at s-tec's other stuff, and I found this item. I wouldn't use it for throwing because it's shorter than the throwing knives I prefer. But I just thought, again, this is a classic example of the fact that, like, the price of a blade is not always proportional to how formidable it would be. And again, this thing, effective for the same reason that any shank is effective. It's very simple. I put that handle or the wrap, that's just gutted paracord, right? It doesn't come with that. And it did come with a sheath, but I don't use a sheath because adding this wrap made it not fit in the sheath anymore, so I'm just going to make my own sheath for it. But yeah, another manufactured shank. And last item, a classic boot dagger. This is the ABKT boot blade. That's what they were selling it as. It was $18. I'll include that link. I thought this was a little bit better than your typical boot dagger, mainly because of the full tang construction. As you can see here, it is a true full tang, and they've even extended it into a little glass breaker or just a skull breaker. I appreciate little touches like that. So the construction on this, you see it's thick too. It's just a little more sturdy than your average boot knife. A lot of boot knives are pretty cheap. Sometimes, you know, the blade, you think it might not even hold up. But this was basically a little bit better made boot knife that I just happened to notice, and I thought to bring it to your attention. And again, these are typically used as an anti-grappling item. Someone bigger, someone stronger, you know, you women out there, someone's trying to assault you, what are you going to do? Well, I hope you have a gun, but, you know, these are often a complement to a firearm, usually. So yeah, if you want this boot knife, $18, that's not bad for this, so check out that link. One thing I didn't like, this was super tight in the sheath. When this arrived, it was like jammed into the sheath like up to there, and it was very difficult to get out safely. But again, for $18, it's still okay. So be aware, you might have to mess around with the sheath, make your own sheath. Alright YouTube, I hope you enjoyed this episode of my knife and gear vlog. Be sure to check out previous episodes if you're a steel addict and you need your fix. Alright, stay tuned for many more videos. This has been We All Juggle Knives. I'm out.